Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Mind the Moments Tuesday morning gathering, brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare and Tufts Health Plan. As you know, this is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to speak with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino, and I am delighted to be here this morning with Zeenat Potia, mindfulness instructor and longtime meditator. Good morning, Zeenat.
Good morning, Suzanne. So happy to be with you today.
Very happy to have you here with us and happy to see the folks joining this morning. So today we'll start off with a question for the group as we usually do, and then Zeenat will lead us in a guided practice and share some thoughts with us. And after that, we'll have time for questions and some ability to add to the chat. So if you can go to the bottom of your screen and click on the chat to open it up. And then if you go to the drop-down menu, you can choose, rather than just seeing your own comments, you can see hosts and panelists, and you can click on host and panelists and click on everyone so you can see everyone's comments. Okay, so I'll hand it over to you, Zeenat. What did you want to ask the group this morning?
So first of all, good morning and welcome. And I invite you to, and the eyes can be open or closed, to just pause, take a moment to settle in and arrive here. I imagine whatever actions or activities that you were involved in before you came to practice this morning, to just allow them to wash over your back like a water over a duck's back. And then when you found your place, taken your seat fully, literally and metaphorically, I invite you to reflect on losses that you may have experienced during the past 18 months in the pandemic. Our topic today is working with grief and loss. And so the invitation is always to turn the mirror back on ourselves, to reflect and to look within. One of my teachers, Tueri Salah, refers to it with this phrase that I just love. She says, tuck inside. So tuck inside and reflect on losses, big or small, whatever arises when you drop the question in. And then if you feel comfortable to share, you can take a minute or so to do the exercise, inviting you to share in the chat.
Sounds good. So just type any thoughts that you have and any area that you feel you found some loss. Freedom to travel is my big loss, someone has added.
And as the responses come in, thank you, John, for starting us off, just to allow what folks are sharing to land, to receive, and pausing with that. This part of our morning is an exercise in mindful speaking and listening, how we learn to dialogue with one another, truly listening and truly sharing from our authentic experience. It's quite powerful and really good to practice present moment awareness with it.
My daughter's college graduation and loss of spontaneity. Have to look up policies and practices before going out. Loss of ease in larger groups.
Yeah.
I have to add as well, my daughter's college graduation as well was a loss for me, although they're going to do it this fall. So we'll just do it in a different way, I guess.
Yeah.
Loss of peace of mind at the beginning of the pandemic. My uncle passed away and not gathering as a family to mourn him. My sweet senior kitty. I'm sorry to hear.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Loss of my dad. Thank you for sharing that, and very sorry to hear that. That's a big loss, losing a parent. So as we can see, the cost has been high. There's been a lot of disappointment, a lot of grief, a lot of challenges and suffering the past 18 months. And what do we do with that as practitioners of mindfulness, of awareness, of presence? And one of the first things which we're doing right now together as a group is to name the loss. By naming it, we bring it into the light, we bring it forth, and then we allow this mind, heart, and body to experience and to open to it. It's not easy to do, but what it does is that it allows the grief and the disappointment and the sadness to then, when we name it and allow ourselves to experience it, for it to move, for it to metabolize. And that's our practice. That's our practice of the inner work of liberation. Because only when we can tend to our own sorrow can we open and be available to others in our lives. And so we start with ourselves. And I think this is a good time to shift. You've had some contemplation to really now transition to practice. So if you could please come into a comfortable seated posture, coming upright, relaxing the shoulders down. And if you've felt stirred up by the discussion, of feeling tenderness in the heart space, it can be helpful to put a hand on one's heart when you practice. So you could try that if you like. And gently closing the eyes. Always an option to practice with eyes open. Just make sure the gaze is soft and steady. And once again, tucking inside and softening and relaxing the body. Noticing any areas of tightness or contraction. Sometimes it can be quite obvious. It can be like a jackhammer on one's chest or tightness in the throat. Other times it can be subtle. So checking it out for yourself. How is it for you right now in the body? Practicing awareness of sensations in the body. Noticing the impulse to change, control, or fix. Nothing's wrong. Nothing wrong is happening if you feel an intense emotion or an intense body sensation. It's something that needs to come out, that needs to be experienced, that's wanting to be seen or heard. And so our mindfulness practice then is to simply allow, to observe with warmth, with curiosity, with open-heartedness. Notice the tendencies, they're very habitual, so they're very quick and immediate and reactive. This shouldn't be happening. Why is this happening? How do I make it better? How do I make it go away? Notice the tendency and just pause with it. Not with pausing with indifference or neutrality or forced beige, but with a steadiness. with an allowing it to be known, to be experienced. So we'll practice in this way, in stillness and silence for a few minutes. Opening to the truth of this moment, however it is. Of course, the mind does what the mind does. It might have drifted off into ruminating about the past or planning, anxiety about the future. little or big distractions. So if you notice that you're elsewhere, gently, kindly, once again returning to the body that's sitting here right now, the body that is carrying the imprint of losses big and small, and tending to making space for whatever is arising. In a moment, you'll hear the sound of the bell. I'd like you to continue to practice with the sound until you don't hear it anymore. Okay, and then taking your time as you transition out of practice, gently you can flutter the eyes open. You might want to look around your space. And as you do that, just getting a sense of space around you, above us, below us, around us. There is space. When we get into a spiral or get very agitated, you may notice there's contraction. The body kind of contracts literally, and you feel the opposite of space. So it can be so good to learn the skill to really widen one's perspective, especially fear. Our vision, actually, literally peripheral vision gets narrowed, and studies show this. So how can we teach ourselves to open to spaciousness in the midst of the challenges? So thank you. And I wanted to just leave you before we move to the Q&A with a suggestion. This is not an easy practice, opening to loss, opening to grief, working with disappointment. And so it's actually a good thing to call in resources. And resources come in a multitude of forms. And we have our proclivities to certain things. So ancestors, music, teachers, mentors, friends, professional help, people who are trained in mental health support, reading a novel, sitting outside in the sun, eating something comforting. There are so many practices, taking a warm bath, going on a long walk, being in nature, that can support us. We need support when we open to the difficult. So not to be shy and not to think that that's a sign of weakness when we open to support. Opening to our own capacity for compassion, that can be a huge resource. The heart of compassion is as wide as the universe, so it's really limitless. Okay, so I hope some of this is helpful, or all of it is helpful to you.
Very much, Zeenat. Thank you so much. And I really connect with the word that you used, metabolizing the loss or the grief, because that really infers a natural automatic process, which many times we can resist trying to allow these feelings into our day or into our practice. But if we do, we have that natural ability to be able to work through them, along with some of those resources that you mentioned. So I really like that, the way you phrased that. Very helpful.
Thank you. So yeah, any questions or comments or reflections, please feel free to share with us in the chat. I see a hand raised, but
Yeah. If Grant, you want to type something in the chat, we'd be happy to try to help with that. I don't know if that was just a
mistake.
mistake. You notice when you look at how people responded to your initial question, how different losses can be. Like you mentioned, disappointments, grief, loss, and so many different levels of loss. So someone mentioned, thank you. I plan to continue later today outside in nature in a hammock swing. Wow, does that sound nice? I've recently learned that pain is an opportunity for growth, and we are to lean into it.
Yeah, indeed. And to be patient and to bring a lot of tenderness, because it can be challenging to open to pain. And so one thing we can do is we can do toes in, toes out. You can titrate. You can open to the degree that feels tolerable, that feels workable, and not to push or suddenly plunge into a big ocean of sorrow all at once, because many of us have commitments and we've got to fulfill them during the day. And so learning, and yes, Grant is sharing that sorrow happens without loss sometimes. That's actually a very poignant. Sometimes we don't know why we feel sad. We don't know, we just experience. You may experience a flood of emotion or sorrow, or sometimes the sorrow can be a feeling of that you feel energetically down, like really low. And it can be a good practice to not immediately jump to, why is this happening? Trying to investigate and parse everything out, because sometimes we don't know. We don't know where these things come from. They arise. But the clue is to pay attention to what is arising, not get lost in the problem solving or the projecting of whatever is arising, because then the metabolizing becomes a possibility.
Mm.
And many of us carry it in our physical body. We carry intergenerational sorrow. It may be pre-verbal, in utero. Who knows? I mean, there a lot of studies show that our emotions and our thoughts have a somatic imprint. They're carried in the body. And so the conscious mind may not even be aware of how or why or how old it is. And our mindfulness practice allows it to be seen and to be experienced.
Yeah, and these teachings also help us remember that these things tend to be temporary.
Yes. Yeah, and we're not alone. We're not alone in our sorrow. Like we saw when folks shared it's a reminder of our interconnectedness. Because it can feel so isolating when we're in the midst of experiencing the difficult.
Absolutely. Really important teaching this morning, Zeenat. I really appreciate you bringing up this very, very timely subject. So I think all of us can use that kind of a reminder that sitting with these feelings in a caring way can really help us process them.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for your teaching and for your practice and for bringing up this subject. I think it's very, very helpful.
Thank you. Thank you for all being here this morning.
Yes, and thank you for joining in the chat. It really is. It's just very nourishing to feel folks virtually be part of this community. So thank you again so much. And we see a lot of your gratitude posts. We're so happy that you're all here as well. So, and we hope to see you on Thursday where we'll be back at 8:30. So thank you again to Zeenat.
Pleasure.
Yeah, and we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.